Hello, welcome to the Parenting Versus podcast. Today we are sitting with our son Luke, our 5-year-old, in our backyard. But yeah, right away I just wanted to get some shout outs through. So I am holding an epic tale in the form of a book.
One time I got a B just now.
One time Luke got a B just now. So what does that mean, Luke?
It means that I saw it over there.
You saw a B over there?
Yeah, next to the bicycle.
Yeah. So I am holding in my hands, excuse me, a book called Rhinespell, The Phoenix of Red, Volume 1 by Ryan P. Freeman. So I just want to say really quickly how much I admire my brother-in-law, Mr. Ryan, for writing this book. So I'm going to turn to the last page here. So it's 544 pages. Okay, Luke, buddy.
Sound effects brought to you by our 5-year-old.
Santa Fe!
Hey, Luke, I have an idea. You were playing so nicely like 2 seconds ago. Can you go play nicely again? Thank you. Do you want to say something real quick before you go play? What do you want to tell everybody in Radioland?
Sometimes our dogs just like bam fight.
Sometimes our dogs just like bam fight. Why do they fight?
Because they like to fight over pine cones in the sand.
Sometimes they like to fight over pine cones in the sand?
Yeah.
Does Diego like to chew on pine cones?
Yeah, I throw pine cone and they get it and just run over the sand back and.
That's awesome. Did you know that you might listen to this radio episode in the future and you might listen to your own voice when you're old? Is that cool? Do you like that?
Yeah.
So cool. I hope that you can listen to this in the future and think about what you were like when you were a kid.
Okay.
Because you're not always going to be a kid. Did you know that? That's awesome. All right. Can you do me a favor and go play with your dinosaurs again?
So, I wanted to read just a little teensy little nugget from this book.
See, I was thinking about doing that, but I hope your brother's okay with this.
He should be.
Okay.
I'm not going to give you any context. I'm not going to give you anything except for this tiny little nugget.
Okay.
Okay. So, she traveled by stealth as far as she could. If she had only gotten near the trees of the land of her people, to the secret protectors and watchers of her own borders, she would have been safe. There might still be a peace in the greenwood even then. But then something terrible happened. The Emerald Queen, for this is what the king's sister began calling herself then, sent her agents to catch the woman and the king he loved so dearly.
Ooh, who's the king? I'm wondering.
Can I start calling myself like the Emerald Queen? Can I just start referring to myself that way?
Sure.
I probably won't.
Okay, you are now the Emerald Queen. I will talk to you.
No,
So
please don't do that.
I will. All right. So this goes into everything that I wanted to talk about with names and. All right. So I'm going to be blatantly just straightforward and honest. If you guys have a tendency to be, you can write on the fence, Luke, if you want. Go ahead.
Make a memory, bro.
Yeah, write on the fence. Show your art.
Speaking of names,
do your thing.
We painted our names on our fence in our backyard.
Yeah.
And every summer, when the grapevines grow, it grows over it so you can't see it. But then every winter, we see our names.
Yeah. No grapes this year, though.
When the leaves fall off.
Our grapes did not come. I'm guessing because there was a heat wave, but every year we've been here, there have been a huge harvest of grapes and lots of birds. Mm-hmm. But so really quickly, if you have a tendency to feel awkward or uncomfortable, you are going to feel. And I hope Lindsay doesn't mind. If she minds, then we won't post this. But about an hour ago, Lindsay and I had a huge fight.
Oh, no, I don't mind. I think that it's good, to be honest.
Okay. And we're okay now, I think. But
you're making me coffee, so
yeah.
There might be something good to that. I think we're all right.
I just think that it's interesting how two people interact. Like, we've been married for 8 years, almost 9 in March. And I know that we love each other, but we just say some mean things to each other, like both of us do.
We are both very headstrong, opinionated, oldest siblings, stubborn.
Yeah.
We are both very stubborn, which does not help. I think we both want to have the last word too. I mean, we won't ever just say that, but I think I see that happening a lot. It's like pushing the other one's buttons if you get the last word, and it's childish. I mean, we get really immature when we fight. It's redonkulous.
It really is. In fact, I was out here stewing while Lindsay was inside cleaning, like blowing off steam. And I have a journal that I write in.
Maybe we should fight more often. We'd probably have a cleaner house.
Yeah, because I was cleaning too, actually.
I know.
And if you have 3 kids, you know what it's like. It's like, it's a never-ending thing. There's always laundry. You had an idea that we should do laundry once a week, but we have so much laundry every single day.
But here's the thing. We have so much laundry, period, that like maybe we would realize what we actually need to wash, and what we don't need to wash right this second. Because the kids have tons of clothes.
Like our bath mats, we wash every single day.
Not every day. I just hate, side note, pet peeve.
Okay.
I hate when we leave the bath mats out to air dry.
And they get really hard and
crusty, and I don't want to step
you know
on
what's
that
weird?
after I take a bath.
love that. I love the bath mats being hard and crusty. That's
so
like
weird
my
to me.
favorite.
That's like cringeworthy. That is so gross.
Well,
to
we have
me.
2 bathrooms. One's kind of mine and one's kind of yours.
I'm gonna give you your
so.
own bath mat, and you can
I like the
do
gray
with
one.
it what you please.
I like the gray one, and I will have it hard and crusty every day.
Gross.
That's what she said.
My gift to you: have that gray bath mat. It's gross.
So, okay, so you were inside cleaning. I was out here stewing, like being upset, and I wrote in my journal. I'm super frustrated right now. Lindsay and I had a big fight. She told me some things. I told her some things. I'm thinking about apologizing to her. She won't accept it. ... And I go in. And I go in really quickly, and I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I said things I shouldn't have," and I just left. And I went into the room because I knew that she was like, I thought, like, I had this idea that you weren't gonna like accept it, but you came in and you said you accepted it, and I was like totally thrown off. So I came back out here and I said I was wrong. She did. I had some things to say. I'll leave it at that. Marriage is hard. Loving is worth it.
Loving is hard too. I think people forget that love isn't all just like daisies and flowers and warm fuzzy feelings. Love is about growth, and growth hurts.
That's true.
Growing pains.
That's true.
Nice picture, bro. Is that you?
Yeah.
I like it.
Cool. Keep drawing, dude. Maybe we'll get you some paint to paint the fence.
We should get him some paint to paint the
How's
fence.
your eye, bud? Is your eye okay?
Looks like it's a little better.
Okay. So yeah, marriage is hard. A lot of this has to do with
And then, how do you spell him?
Luke's talking right now. Penny is Penny. He's spelling his name. He spelled it upside down.
No, it's backwards. It's like a mirror.
Oh, it's like a mirror.
Yeah.
Anybody out there who's good with like writing? Can you tell me if this is normal for 5-year-olds? I mean, I don't care if it's normal.
It's normal to have a lot of the letters backwards.
But it's like a mirror.
Yeah, maybe he's dyslexic.
Maybe.
I mean, he could be.
Maybe he's a left-handed person in a right-handed person's body.
Yeah, I'm a left-handed person in a weirdo's body.
So, Lindsay was talking about names earlier. What were you saying about names? Calling you, the Ice Queen.
Ice Queen?
Or not the Ice Queen.
Whoa, take it easy.
Something Queen. What was it?
Emerald Queen.
Emerald
From
Queen.
the book,
From
bro.
the book. From
Not
the
Ice Queen.
From the epic tale.
Although that might have been appropriate about an hour and a half ago.
Maybe. And I am pretty clueless. So I have been listening to a lot of podcasts. I always listen to podcasts. I love it. I've always been interested in radio. Ever since I was a little kid. I mean, if you grew up in an evangelical home like I did, you grew up with the radio in the form of The Adventures of an Odyssey on K something. I can't remember the call letters, but it was a radio station here in Albuquerque. And I remember driving from Santa Fe to Moriarty because my dad worked in Santa Fe. We lived in Moriarty. I would go with my dad to work sometimes, and on the way home, in his little Nissan pickup, he had a little Nissan 2-wheel drive, just pickup. It was blue. we would listen to two things. It was it was Adventure and Odyssey, followed by Chuck Swindoll. By the way, to this day, Chuck Swindoll's voice is very comforting to me, and I have no idea. I don't know. I can't.
Dad,
Yes, sir.
I spelled E. I
Luke's spelling something for me. He's looking at the fence.
spelled E-N-E-I.
He spelled E-N-E-I. What does that spell?
I don't know.
It says Ene.
N-A.
Ene. Uh-huh.
That's what I did.
Cool.
I spelled N-I.
Good job.
That's so good.
Keep drawing, dude.
Keep practicing. Practice your letters. Can you do the whole alphabet?
Yeah. And all the numbers, too.
Well, I think I'm gonna make you guys.
Okay, make us.
Draw a picture.
We made
can
you.
even
You
draw a
can make us
picture.
now.
You can draw a picture of us podcasting.
Yeah. So, driving from Santa Fe to Moriarty is very much a memory of me that I have. It's always going to be there. Of me driving with my dad from Santa Fe to Moriarty in the blue Nissan. And to this day, when I hear Chuck Swindoll's voice,
Wait, no, I think I'm
Okay.
gonna make Minecraft.
okay, keep going. You can draw as long as you want, dude. If I hear Chuck Swindoll's voice, it's very comforting. But after Chuck Swindoll, it was Adventures in Odyssey. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I've always been interested in radio, and I don't know what I was talking about. I had a thing. Oh, I was talking about how I love radio. I've always loved radio. So that
iHeartRadio.
yes,
Sorry, that was a
iHeartRadio.
shameless plug. I'm sorry.
Well, you don't like Clear Channel.
No, not really.
That's Clear Channel, by the way.
Whatever.
But yeah, I mean, I've always just loved radio. That I listen to Loveline a lot. With Dr. Drew and what's his name?
Wait, no,
It
Adam
was Adam
Carolla.
Carolla.
You know what's funny
And
is
then
I was
after
not
that, it
allowed
was
to listen
Stryker.
To, that.
You weren't allowed to listen to it.
To Loveline? No way.
Well, neither was I.
I used to listen to it in bed at night, like when I was not a little kid, but like a teenager, and I'd
Well, you're the same age as I am.
like close to my ear.
I guess. Oh,
It's
you
been
know
on
what?
for a long time.
Before I listened to it, because I listened to it in college. Before that, it was an MTV TV show.
Yeah, that's.
I
Probably
think
what
that
I
was based off
listening
of
to.
a radio show.
Maybe, but I remember my mom being like, "Have you ever listened to that thing, that Loveline thing?" And I'm like, "No," and of course I had, and she's like, "Well, that is not appropriate."
I can draw a stick. Then I can, and then I can draw that one. And then I can draw another stick. Then I can make a drum on that.
Okay, sounds good. Go ahead and draw all
Do
of
it.
that stuff you just told me, and I will be watching.
He likes to draw.
Drawing is good.
Just like my brother. My brother made some paintings, and they were really good, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Like they were like scenes, like nature scenes. But
Landscape.
yeah, so I listened to Loveline, and then I also listened to 770 KKOB here in town, talk radio. It's pretty right-leaning conservative, and I even listened to he's kind of nuts. He's like a crazy right-wing dude.
Rush Limbaugh.
Not Rush Limbaugh. He has a really high-pitched voice, and he's out of like the Northeast, somewhere in New York or Massachusetts or something.
I wouldn't know.
It doesn't matter, but I just love listening to radio, and when podcasts rolled along, like it was natural. I just love listening to people talk. But recently, talking about names.
Is Rocco.
Yes. Okay. To my point, I take in a lot of media, especially some podcasts. So, the Bad Christian podcast, and then the offshoots of the Bad Christian podcast. You have Pastor with No Answers with Joey Svensson, and there's the why can't I think right now?
I don't know.
You probably know. Break it down.
Oh.
Break it down with Aaron Carter. Aaron Carter? Matt Carter?
The only thing Aaron Carter's doing right now is sitting in jail.
I think
honestly.
is he in jail?
I think he's in jail.
Isn't he like...
He's like,
didn't he come out as gay, too?
I don't know.
Somebody came out as gay.
I don't know. I just know dude's dealing with some personal stuff right now.
Yeah. But
So,
anyway, back to it. There's just been a lot on my mind, and I think that kind of was part of our fight. It was just all this stuff on my mind, and all this information bombarding me, and I don't know what to think, and I've been in this like internal struggle, like since I've been an adult. Like, we talked about that on the car home from church today. Like, it's just been crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I guess I get a little selfish. Sometimes I want to just have my own thoughts, and I want to not be bombarded by like a million other things. And so if I don't have the radio on or the TV on or something on, that's my way of being like, I don't want to be bombarded with this heavy stuff right now. I have
Right.
enough heavy stuff going on that's weighing me down with like being a mom and a wife and all this other stuff. And there's times where I just can't, I literally am like, I have had enough, and like the weight is a little bit too much, and I just need to not. And it's nothing personal against you, I should say that. It's nothing personal. It's just that sometimes like my brain gets overloaded, and then when it does that, it just shuts down.
Yeah.
That's why I watch a lot of really stupid shows on Netflix. It's my brain's way of like resetting itself.
See, and you know what's crazy? And like, you get overloaded, you get bombarded, you need some like me time. When I get bombarded and overloaded with my internal thoughts, I need to hit the release valve. And that's, I think, where we hit a melting point. Okay, go ahead, bud.
Yeah, because I disconnect and you like have to spew.
I have to engage.
Yeah, and that's
So-
not a good combination at all.
Do you know what's cool is that we realize that, though?
Oh,
Because
maybe.
I do have to engage.
Not in the moment though.
Yeah.
Look, I
All
made
right.
a vampire.
Very
Keep
good.
going, dude.
Don't
Don't burn my journal. I'm letting him draw my journal right now.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's kind of like, it's interesting because like our pastor was talking about media he has over the course of a couple weeks, and just like the things going on, and I think it's good to touch on those things,
Well, you said something interesting today that I thought was cool.
which was, I'm sorry, I have no idea.
You
what you're
were saying we were on the way to Dunkin' Donuts to get the kids more donuts even after church.
Well, they have donut holes at church, and I feel like that's sort of like New City. I love you guys, but at some point, we're gonna have to graduate to big size donuts for grown-ups.
Well, you have to think about cost too.
You have to think about donut satisfaction. You're an econ major. Tell me how that works.
You have to think
Yeah.
about donut butts.
Donut butts. Okay.
All right, and we're done here.
And we're done.
All right.
All right. So you were talking about how you think that I listen to this,
Donut butts.
listen to all these podcasts, and how I don't sit and really think about those things or reference like the Bible in my thoughts and things like that.
It was the idea that you consume a lot of information about certain things, like, but you don't actually go to the source to read about what you're consuming, if that makes any sense. And it's not a good or a bad thing. I just think that we can get really caught up in, like Nate was saying, in other people's opinions and other people's perspectives on a source without actually visiting the source itself. And this goes for anything, not just the Bible. I mean, you know, if you're like a Civil War buff and you spend all your time like looking at Civil War reenactments and watching Civil War movies, that's great, but that's not actually the source. That's somebody's idea of the main idea.
So this is why it's super hard to be a social studies teacher. Seriously.
Okay.
I taught social studies, New Mexico history and U.S. history, and you're like, well, I have these books to teach out of, but whose side of the story do I talk to the kids about? Like,
I would be looking at journals and letters that people wrote home from the trenches to get a really personalized idea of what they were seeing and dealing with. And again, that's somebody else's perspective, but it's somebody
Right.
who was there.
Yeah. Well, there's a conflict in my brain, and I'll talk to you a little bit about it. So, I grew up in a very Pentecostal, very evangelical home, and I would say it might be on the same page as a lot of maybe Southern folks,
Like Southern
Right.
Baptists or just
people
charismatic?
who live in the South,
the Bible Belt.
Bible Belt. Like Bible Belt includes Moriarty, New Mexico, for sure.
Okay. It's like one of the little tiny holes in the belt.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, I would say most people think that the Bible Belt ends with Lubbock, Texas.
No, that's not true.
But it extends in a little bit east, a little bit west, I mean, into Moriarty, New Mexico. So I grew up in this town, and I I respect the people I grew up around, for sure. My parents right now are in Mexico, in fact, with the pastor I grew up with, Larry Cox. Oh, gosh, excuse me.
Who is a super nice dude. He fixed our front
Yeah,
door
he
when
was
it got kicked in, which
super
I really
nice.
appreciate.
Yeah, super nice. Very handy. He lives a very humble life. Like, I admire that. Like, he's not wealthy. He's not rich. He just does his thing, and he's all about helping people
Look, I
all
made a
over the
bowl.
world,
I
really.
made a bowl.
So now that I'm an adult, I look back and I look at Pastor Cox. We just called him Pastor. And yes, sir.
I made a bowl.
Oh, good.
A bowl. And this is gonna be another bowl.
That's another bowl. Cool. He likes bowls.
You should put a bowl in a china shop.
Yeah. But there's this.
That's a metaphor for myself, by the way. I'm always a bowl in a china shop.
Yeah.
The china shop being the world, and the people that I'm supposed to be
Right.
politically correct with.
Yeah.
I'm not that person.
So there's this idea that I have in my brain of who I am growing up. And then I grow up and I try to find like who I am, what my faith is for myself, because I know that my faith is something that I inherited from my parents. And I'll even equate it. I'll say just like somebody who's in India, they inherited their Hinduism from their parents. Somebody who's in the Middle East, they inherited their Islam from their parents. Somebody who is, whatever. If you're in the United States, you inherited your Christianity from your parents. That's who I am. But I wanted to test it out to make sure that it was true, right? I wanted to make sure that this is something that's right. So I'm searching around, even to this day. Like I'm still searching around. And I listened to a couple podcasts. I listened to the Bad Christian podcast because those are my peeps, right? I listened to Emery back in 2005. The Screamo scene, that was my deal, right? I loved MXPX in the late 90s, and then it graduated into emo Screamo into the 2000s.
Do you ever listen to Chevelle?
I did listen to Chevelle all the time.
Look at me, a tree.
Good tree. So when they had a blog, I think it was called Unthinking or Unsomething. They just had a blog, and I listened to their blog, and then they started the podcast, and I started listening to that. There's that, and then there's the Liturgist podcast. So I listen to those two pretty regularly, right? And I want to get your idea on these two. I'm not just going to talk.
No, it's fine.
But
I'm trying to figure out what Penny's doing.
she sees something alive.
Oh, okay.
Luke, why don't you go check? Tell us what she's looking at. She see a bird?
Maybe a lizard.
Might be a
So
lizard, yeah.
the Bad Christian podcast, they talk a lot about the flaws of the church, which there are many, and they call them out. But I'm wondering like what to think now, because I still listen. I still agree with like the quote unquote business model of the church. That kind of bothers me, especially I'm going to say names, and I don't even care. But here in town we have Calvary, which is a huge mega church. Everybody goes to Calvary. It's huge, and I went there in college, and I had a problem with Calvary just because I saw that. I saw like the business piece of things. It's very business, right?
Well, the Western world has created church to be an institution.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that everywhere.
Right. And I might be wrong to like even care, but
Well, you should care because it affects the community and it affects people's perceptions
Right.
here, and that's what we're dealing with.
right.
That's what's in front of us.
But those are the things that bother me about the church, is like the bigness, the money making part of things, the
No.
profits, right? So they call out the mega church. They call them out.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, hey Luke, please don't burn that,
What?
because that's gonna start. Blow it out. Blow it out. Blow it out. Thank you. He's starting things on fire.
He's a little boy.
He was a little boy. When I was a little boy, I used to like get little pieces of toilet paper and make little zozobras, and we would burn them in the
That was so New Mexican.
we would burn them in the back of our
I
house.
just used to dip sticks in wax, but you
We used to
created
make little
zozobras.
zozobras. Hey, I asked you not to do that. Thank you.
No more, buddy.
So Bad Christian, they made a fake worship song. Let's talk about that.
Okay. It's
Um,
actually, I mean, if you're looking for a hardcore, like the epitome of a popular worship song, it has all the elements. And it's crazy because Lorenzo was like, listen to this song and then tell me what you think. And I was like, yeah, that's a worship song. All right. But it was crazy because it was totally like, they did it based on a formula. It was a business formula for a successful worship song. They nailed it, and it was just like ridiculous. I mean, there's literally a formula for this, and as the United States and as Christians in the United States, we buy that. We buy that formula, and we're like, oh, yep, this is gold. doesn't matter if it has any substance or thought or feeling behind it or anything like that. If it fits into our little box or our little mold, and it's acceptable to these certain standards that the United States megachurches have created, then we are going to consume it. It was interesting though, because it was like that easy, and it's kind of sad too, because it's like, okay, if that's how we can be marketed to and consume Christian music, which is an art form and an expression, like what else are we being sold that we're not even aware of? Like as Christians, we're being sold this prepackaged stuff. We're being marketed to by a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are so consumer oriented. It's just kind of nuts. But
well, I mean,
were you talking about it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at like Psalms.
If you put sticks in there, it'll
Uh-huh.
burn more. So the fire.
We're not. No. We're not gonna burn anything else. He's obsessed with fire. We need go set up a Jurassic World for me. No fire.
Man has discovered fire.
Should I blow it out?
Yes. So it's just interesting because we are sold this like Western idea of Christianity and this Western consumptive model of Christianity, and we buy it and we don't even realize that we buy it. But if you look at Psalms, they are such agonizing at times words. They're so honest and true. And actually my favorite book of the Bible is Ecclesiastes, and it's totally depressing, I'm sure, but like
No, Lamentations, I thought.
No.
Oh, you like Ecclesiastes.
My favorite book of the Bible is Everything is Nothingness. Everything's pointless. But seriously, I like it because it's real and it's honest and it's raw and it's a human being talking about how life actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I like it. It's not this like sugar-coated Sunday morning, thing. But I think that that's what we've reduced like Christian music to a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but a lot
Yeah.
of the time.
So if you have a Spotify account or Apple Music or Google Play, whatever, look it up. I think it's called Rain on Me.
The video is ridiculous.
His name is Toby Morrell. And this is where I was kind of trying to figure things out. I was trying to figure out if it was
I need water too.
if it was sacrilegious or if it... Okay, I'm going to get Luke some water for his Jurassic World. And can you talk?
Yeah, no, I get what you were saying though. Lorenzo was talking about how he wasn't sure if this, like them creating this song to make a point, was sacrilegious or it was like a mockery to God or religion, or it was simply that, proving a point. And for a little bit I was like, oh, that's kind of like mocking religion. But then I thought about it, and it's like, well, if other people are following a formula or a model to create something successful for the church, isn't that the same thing? We're just calling it what it is.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I listened to the song, and it's awesome. And if you're a Christian, you're like, oh man, I just need to worship God right now or something. Like, but I don't know. Like, it's just kind of crazy that we have been conditioned to like a certain style of music,
Not me.
to like a certain types of lyrics, like your scandalous love.
Oh my gosh.
That's in that. I think that is like a Hillsong United.
Scandalous love? That
Scandalous
sounds
love, like your love
so
is
bad.
scandalous. I think that he took that from somebody else's song. Your scandalous love.
But that sounds so cheesy to me. Like, that sounds like a really bad strip club.
Yeah.
Like, that is just bleh.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my opinion.
So
Scandalous love, F plus click. Like, that's how
So
I
there's
feel.
that podcast, which does a lot of questioning, which, I mean, I automatically loved that show. Like, they question the church. They wonder, like, is this really what Christianity is supposed to be? Is this really what being a follower of Jesus is supposed to be? Is like what we have here in the United States, in America specifically, the United States.
Mm-hmm.
We have made our own brand of Christianity, and I don't like it.
It's like fast food Christianity.
I'm going to be honest. I don't like it.
No, I don't like it either. Well, it's funny because I was thinking about the parallels of, like, the early church and what they probably looked like versus what it looks like now.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about, like, our community group and how we just sit and, like, have dinner and hang out and talk about what we've learned, talk about the message a little bit, have a discussion. We have friendships, we laugh, we raise our kids. Like, we're just living life together. I think that early church probably looked a lot like that. You had all these people living in different areas of Rome, you know, and they got together with people that were living kind of around them so they could support each other. They had a community and they talked about it. I don't think that it was this ginormous building where people came and there was laser light shows and there was like, you know, V-neck t-shirt clad pastors with their hoodies and their piercings and their strategically placed tattoos. I'm definitely not referring to anybody in particular here in Albuquerque that might be a leader of a megachurch at all. You know, but that's the thing. You know, it's funny because I think we have completely corrupted, like, the organic beauty of what the church actually was meant to be and what it was versus what we have made it. And that's really sad. I feel like in some instances in the United States, we've made church like a social club. In other instances, we've made it like, you know, like a giant, like, law-abiding building where we follow the law. You know, in other places, we've made it this thing where you have to keep certain conditions in order to come back. It's interesting because church has been, I think, really skewed from what it was originally meant to be versus what it is now.
What does he want?
More water. And I don't think that it's bad to say that. I mean, I don't think it's bad to say that. I think that we've gotten a lot of things confused. And some people might say, you know, oh, you say that and you're criticizing the church or you're mocking God or you're... No, I'm not doing that. That's genuinely not my intent. I'm actually just questioning. I'm questioning what we're doing. I think it's good to ask questions. And just because you ask questions doesn't mean that you are blaming God or mocking God or you don't believe in God. There's a difference between blaming God for things and simply questioning God and questioning how things are supposed to be. And I think people get confused.
Yeah. So it's good then. I mean, I listened to that podcast and you hear them call out the church. I mean, there's probably some flaws in there, like the language they use is not the best. Although language is just language, I guess.
To you, but other people might.
Some people it offends, you know what I mean? Like they can say, they drop some F-bombs and some S-bombs and some whatever else bombs.
Wait a minute. You mean Christians, they say swear words?
Sometimes. It's kind of scary.
Oh my gosh, I think my heart broke in half a little bit.
Poop. I just said poop. But yeah, they swear on the podcast, whatever. I don't know. That's one. The other podcast I'll listen to sometimes, and this is even a little bit kind of far-reaching for me, but it's the Liturgist podcast. So the most recent podcast I listened to, and this was what you were talking about, names, right? So they were talking about names and what a name is and what is language, and then they really like dive deep into like meanings, right? Mm-hmm. What is the language? What is the, like, why do we have names? Why do women have to take the names of their, or not have to, but why in our culture why is it customary, right? A name is an identity, and it has something to do with your spiritual like path and all this other stuff. So Michael Gungor, his most recent Liturgist podcast, he was talking about how he met with a guy named Das. What's his name?
Ram Dass.
Mm-hmm. Who is a spiritual kind of dude, right? Spiritual guru.
A guru. He's like a guru, or he's like a spiritual figurehead. He's a leader.
Right. He was describing the podcast as a Hindu kind of Buddhist Jesus lover.
With a little bit of Judaism in there too, I think.
Yeah. So he's like all over the place.
However that works.
He's all over the place.
Sure.
So
that actually just sounds like universalism to me.
Right.
Honestly, that's what it sounds like.
So my evangelical brain is like, alert, warning, stay away. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But he was talking about how he had this like meeting with this dude, and how Ram Dass, he's a white guy, right? He lives in Hawaii, I guess.
Of course.
Used to be a Harvard professor. Had a name. I think his name was Richard or something. And how when he was meeting with Michael Gungor, who wrote that name, Michael Gungor, by the way, and I found this out listening to the podcast, that he won a Dove Award. And he also wrote that song, "I Am a Friend of God," the worship song.
Cannot stand, by the way. It's like the worst.
We used to sing that in church a lot.
It's like the worst worship song ever.
I was like, whoa, that's Gungor? Wow. But basically the in and out of the podcast is how he's going to start going by not going by, but he already kind of does go kind of halfway go by Vishnu Das. He's going by Vishnu Das.
That would explain the influence on his last album a little bit.
Yeah.
There's some Middle Eastern twinge in there.
And how his wife has him in her phone as Vish, and there was so much more to the podcast, and I am not intelligent enough to really relay the gist.
Well, you can listen to it on your own.
Listen to it on your own, really.
Or you can
But-
look up Ram Dass. I don't know. The guy definitely, like, I hear you on the red flag thing. Like, I certainly wouldn't look at him as a spiritual leader for myself. He might have some valuable things to say and some interesting experiences and some interesting insight into some things. But I think, and this is just my opinion, if you are going to pick like 4 or 5 major world religions and become a fan of all of them, like, what's your absolute truth? Like, that would be my question.
Yeah.
Like, where's your platform that you're jumping off of, and like, where's the foundation that you're coming back to?
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Or do you even know? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. But
Or did you just do a lot of drugs in the 60s?
Who knows? Sounds like fun. But there's just so much stuff like bombarding us every single day as far as information. Like, what do you believe? You know. But there's some truths for me, and that is like there's natural truths. I need to categorize these. I need to like organize my thoughts because there's some things that are very true to me. One of them is like I'm in awe of the universe. I really am.
I know.
And I'm in awe of science.
Yeah.
And I tend to accept what scientists have to say because scientists are taught to think through things without agendas. Scientists are taught to wonder, basically, just like our little daughter. And I told this story to my kids. I was like, well, my daughter's a scientist. And they're like, what? Your daughter's a scientist? I'm like, yes.
She's one. And
She uses the scientific method every single day of her life. Okay? Scientific method starts with an observation. So she starts with an observation. You observe 5 different ways through your 5 senses. And I tell my kids, and I'm so amazed at this year how much attention I have for my kids. They're like captivated, I guess. I guess maybe I'm just as excited as I'm explaining to you I am to them. Like, I really am. I'm like, I have a 1-year-old daughter. She's a scientist. She sees something. After she sees something, what's the next thing she does? She walks to it. She picks it up.
puts it in her mouth.
She looks at it closer with her eyes, and then she puts it in her mouth and tastes it, right? She's a scientist. She wants to know what everything's about, because everything to her is new. But that's what scientists are. They like observe, they wonder, they are fascinated, they're curious, and they don't have an agenda. They're not trying to like dismantle the church with like what they do.
I've never understood that whole thing. I mean, like, I've never understood why people can't accept that science and God can work and live together.
Right.
Because if God is God, then God created science and he created a system. And maybe science is just the systems in which God created to make things work. Like, I don't understand why you have to have one or the other, but not both. Like, I really don't get that. It seems really rigid to me.
It's because they feel threatened, because there are certain things that we discover in science that aren't consistent with a literal view of the Bible.
Okay, but here's the thing. Even that is discrediting how great and huge God is.
Right.
Because you're saying God has to fit into your version of the Bible and your understanding of the Bible,
Which
not
was
the other way
written-
around.
Which was written by people,
right.
by the way.
God has an infinite knowledge of the universe. So don't you think that maybe, just maybe, like, we're the ones that are misunderstanding some things? Like, I don't know. That would be my thought.
Yeah. Yeah. So when somebody tells me that the universe is billions of years old and light takes this amount of time to travel in a year, and there are stars that are further away than what people think that the age of the earth is, like, I'm okay with accepting those things. I tend to accept what scientists have to say.
People also forget that God is outside of time. So our concept of time may only be needed for our understanding. It may mean nothing to God. It's kind of funny to me because we are so hell-bent on time. Time did not exist until man, like, insisted upon it. Because we are so self-righteous that we have to measure our days in some way. Like, have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, time is a weird thing to like. Just if you start thinking,
Yeah.
just thinking about time,
Time blows my
it's
mind a
insane.
lot.
It's crazy.
But God is outside of time. So basically, that should tell you that God can do whatever he wants because time is not, he's not bound by time. And it's so funny because human beings, we are, so we have this sense of urgency of like, I only have so much time to do this, or my life is only so long, or I only have to accomplish this and this and this. And God's probably like, "Pfft, it doesn't matter. Like, just do what you're set forth to do.
Yeah.
And don't worry about the time involved because we get
Right.
so hung up on time.
Yeah. Today, as Jared and the band were playing, which we had a 3-piece today, which was pretty awesome. That bassist was rocking away the bass line.
Yeah, I was actually admiring the drummer a little
And the
bit.
drummer
like,
was
the
good too, huh?
skills. Yeah, no, I was just like,
I like how you point out he had the skills. Thank you for that.
well, I wasn't checking out the drummer.
Sure.
No, he's got some good drumming skills though. I was
Yeah.
definitely like, right on, dude.
But as they were playing, I was just kind of wondering about the things that I find incredible. Okay, so naturally, like the natural world, I find incredible. So the universe, how vast the universe, how huge the universe, how little we are, incredibly tiny. Like scale is huge, right? There are things that are so incredibly large in our universe, and there are things that are so incredibly small, and the scale of things just blows me away, right? From quarks to the giantest of the giant stars, like the scale of things just blows me away, right? There's that, and here on Earth, at least, what we've been able to observe. Oh, let me get Diego. He's
I like how we have a heavy thought and then our dog starts trying to eat the hose, and so we have to take it away from him. Our 5-year-old is flooding our backyard. He's making a moat.
All right, look, you have enough of a flood, dude.
No
more. You're making too much
You know, to the ants in our backyard, this might be the Great Flood of 2017. It looks pretty.
No, it's the Great Flood of Jurassic World.
He's so
God.
nuts. He is so crazy.
Yeah.
I kind of just got a glimpse of what his voice might sound like during puberty.
Yeah. So keep playing, dude. You're doing a good job. So there's the natural things that kind of blow me away, but then like here on Earth, there's
On this here planet,
on this here planet, there are some things that just make me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Like
warm chocolate chip cookies.
um
Oh, no?
so how we humans can enjoy things like art, can enjoy things like music. Like we love, which is crazy. Like we love is something that is just that blows me away.
We fight hard, but we also love hard.
Yes. Like I have this feeling, and it's, you know, some people might see it's just evolutionary or whatever, which I can agree with, and I can also double down and say that is more, it's more, right? I love my daughter. I love Luke. I love Riley so much, and you can relate to me on that, right? We love to be around each other. And a scientist can say it's evolutionary, and I will agree with that scientist, but I can also say like the feelings that we have, like the love we have for each other. And there's also some like not so evolutionary things we do.
Well, can I just say that?
Yeah.
Like, love is not bound by definition. That's the one word that has no solid definition. Because everybody expresses it differently, everybody understands it differently, and everybody feels it differently, and yet it's still equal to everybody. Does that make sense?
It does.
It's undefinable, and it's undeniable. I'm just kidding.
What's that from?
I have
Is that Paula Abdul?
no undefinable, undeniable. I think it's another really
90s?
crappy 90s church song. Anyway.
I was just thinking about Paula Abdul, and when I used to spend the night at my friend, he wasn't my friend. Well, he
Paula
was my
Abdul?
friend. Paula Abdul. Do you remember Paula
I
Abdul
think Riley. Oh no, just kidding. Yes, I do.
from the '90s?
Straight up, now tell me it.
That, and then 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Yeah. My cousin Juan had a poster of Paula Abdul on her ceiling. Anyway, what were we talking about?
I don't know. I kind of want to hear the rest of this story, though.
That's the
that
first time I saw the figure of a woman, and I was like slightly like intrigued. I was probably Luke's age. I think I was Luke's age, and I was like, oh, she's a woman.
Okay.
Huh. Fancy that.
That's different.
That's different. But what were we talking about? Oh, love, right? And then art and music. I enjoy all of these. You had a chance to go to the art museum this
I know.
year. Did it invoke any feelings?
On Tuesday, yeah, it did actually. I had gotten some news that my grandma had a heart attack, and I was having a really just emotional day. Like, I just couldn't handle it. I was crying nonstop pretty much all of Tuesday, and I needed some time to myself. So I went to the art museum after I dropped off Luke. My mom had the other two, and I had some time. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go do something that I just need to do, but I want to do something alone. And so I went to the art museum. I was the first person there. It was empty except for me, which was kind of crazy, but kind of cool. And I just like thoughtfully sort of walked around the exhibits and took my time and really, really looked at the art. And I didn't just like look at the pictures, but I sat and I looked at the artist. I looked at the year that it was painted or made, the colors that were used, what they were trying to depict. And I was trying to really put myself in that place of like where that artist was when the art was made, and kind of like thinking about what state of mind they would have been in when that was made and what they were really trying to convey with everything, the colors and the feeling and the tone. And it's interesting because some artwork did not do it for me. It was just like, okay, whatever. But then there were other pieces that were just so strong. And then when you would read the description of what it was or what year it was made, that just made it even more emotional. So it was really cool to kind of just have that time to really ponder those things. And I kind of think about God as an artist too. I mean, you know, maybe he was in a certain mood when he created trees, or he was in a certain mood when he created people, or he was in a certain mood when he created zebras. I have no idea, but I think God is an artist. I definitely think that we can see a lot about his character in what's around us, and a lot of times we choose not to. We just kind of take it for granted, but we forget to look at what's in front of us.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. So yeah, these are the things that have been on our mind, and I think that I don't think we'll ever get closure on things.
No.
I don't think we'll ever feel like, I figured out life.
Nope, not until we're
It's
dead.
figured out.
Once you figure out life, you're dead, so.
I don't think we'll ever figure out life, but I was telling you this last night. I feel like my life is moving at a faster pace now than it ever has been. I feel like day after day after day is happening, and then the weekend happens, and then it's a day after day after day after day, and then the weekend happens, and it's like so fast. You know what I mean? 5 years has passed by since we've had our first kid. It's just insane to me how fast things are flying.
Yeah, they really are.
But what I want to happen is I want to be able to slow down. I want to be able to enjoy. I want to be able to savor. I want to be able to tell my kids that I love them. I want to be able to enjoy the art that is nature. Mm-hmm. I want to enjoy the art that humans make. Hey, Luke, please don't burn that. Thank you. Don't burn that.
It's gonna burn your finger, buddy. Don't do that.
Hey, no. I'm drinking that water. All right. So there's a lot happening in our life, and this is the second podcast we've had in a couple days. Mm-hmm. But the weeks are so insane that I'm okay with that. Aren't you?
Yeah, I think I'm good with it.
Are you?
Yeah, I think so. I hope
So
I'm here.
yeah. Good at
Living life in the fast lane. Just
yes,
kidding.
sir.
Not at all.
But tonight I'm excited because we get to hang out with some peeps,
Friends
right?
and get some...
Mander and Zandy. I was going to say Mander and Zandy.
Mandy and Xander.
Our friends Mandy and Xander.
We're going to have pizza with them, which is going to be sweet.
Yep. So
Can't wait.
that should be fun.
Yep. And it's Game of Thrones night. Not that we judge our weeks by that, but
We do.
we might. That's how we keep time lately.
We do judge our time. Is that what you said? And it's the season finale
Absolutely. So cheers to you. Enjoy the season finale tonight.
Season finale of Game of Thrones. There will be dragons. There will be walkers.
There might even be some tears.
There will be some tears. There hasn't been as much nudity in the shows. Hey, Luke, do not burn our house down, dude. Hey,
All right.
So we're gonna sign off. I hope you guys have a great week, and we will talk to you guys in the next one.